We're live
Okay.
here at Sales HQ. I'm your host, Vince Beasy, also the founder here at Sales HQ. And my guest today,
Eric Boggs, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you, is my friend Eric Boggs here, who back in the day, we did this thing called the T-Rex Summit. And some of you out there might remember this orange branding we used to do here. In the little
If you ever want to know who's the better salesperson or who's the better marketer between Vince and me, Vince was like, we should call it the revenue exchange. And I said, why don't we just call it T-Rex? And he's like, that's way better.
That is a true story. That absolutely is. But I was the one that got all the sponsors.
Yeah, and there's no denying you are
right.
top 1% of the 1%
Thank
sellers.
You. So before we get to you, because this is all about Eric Boggs today, of course.
Let's hear more about you.
I talk about this all the time at the beginning, and the most important thing, which is, what is Sales HQ? So we are a co-selling community for high-performing sellers and sales teams. Basically, what we've established is a place for remote sellers and teams to now work from, to feel the energy of a sales floor, to collaborate with their peers, and to grow and develop their careers. We also do a lot of events. So if you go to the website saleshq.co, you can not only become a member, but you can also join our events that we do for guests and members. So Eric, it's been a little bit. I think I know a lot about you, but our folks out there watching don't. And I always ask, they don't know about you. I always ask this first question, which is interesting to me, is how people actually got started in sales. Do you recall how you got your career started in sales?
I have a few answers to that question. So who I am today, I'm the CEO of a company called RevBoss.com that does marketing workflow and lead generation for small businesses like marketing agencies, software companies, that sort of thing. We can get into that later. So a while back, my mom sent me a picture of a flyer that she found that I made when I was probably 15. And it was like, Eric Boggs will come mow your lawn, but you have to provide the lawnmower and the gas. And it had my phone number on it, 922-9126. This was like pre-area code. Like it didn't have 704 922-9126. And it said, I aim to please. So I remember I mowed a few neighbors' lawns. I know that's kind of like a cliched story, but that came up pretty recently as a thing. But what really kind of kicked off my career in selling was my first job out of undergrad. My senior year, I was an intern at the UNC Business School in like the technology office, and fixed laptops and Blackberries and printers for very brilliant business professors, but absolute Luddites when it came to technology. And, those people liked me.
Yeah.
And they would say, hey, can you help me set up a home Wi-Fi network? And I was like, yeah, sure, I can.
Something for the effort.
Yeah, and so I built a little side business. A night or two a week, I'd go and set up a Wi-Fi network at somebody's house, or get their printer online, like that kind of stuff. And it was just kind of fun and easy, and I liked helping people. Didn't make too many messes. Definitely made some messes. But yeah, that kind of got me on a path. And, not too long after that, I went to work for a company called Bronto Mail that became a big success. And I was the one-man sales team there for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
Like every dollar that they made, well, not every dollar, but a lot of the dollars.
Is this pre-Matt? I forgot. Were you there before Matt Williamson?
Yeah. Matt, I remember when Matt joined the team. There were 3 salespeople when Matt joined the team. And he's, talk about 1% of the 1% top sellers. Like that guy might be the best seller I've ever known.
Wow.
And and that's kind of cool. He came in and joined the team, and I got to work in the product team, and customer success team, and kind of got to see a lot of pieces of it. But yeah, I love selling. I did a sales call today.
You have to.
Yeah, it's fun.
So when you were at Bronto and you came in there early, the one of the one, I know who the 2 founders are. They're not from sales backgrounds. What did you have to do to get stuff started? I mean, you had never formally, it sounds like, been in a sales role before.
No.
You weren't trained. You didn't.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I knew what I was
doing. You didn't come from Xerox there, right? Like,
it wasn't like I knew what I was doing either. I remember meeting Chaz and him just being like, well, if you could do anything, what would you like to do? I was like, well, this seems fun. I'd like to do something like this. Like, you guys seem smart. I don't know. Let's build something. And I didn't sell anything for like the first 2 months.
Yeah.
And I know they had to think about firing me 100 times because I didn't sell anything.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. And I don't know. I guess they were just patient, and I figured out, oh, well, it doesn't work when you do that. It doesn't work when you do that. And eventually, I just figured out, like, just be nice and be helpful and be accommodating and be yourself.
That means you got a lot of inbound leads, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely did. Believe me, I did more than my fair share of cold calls.
Yeah.
But I think that, there's like a lot of things that have to work and happen for a business to kind of get its early flight. And Bronto was early AdWords. Like Google AdWords, like I remember Google IPO, like that was all happening around that time.
Were you involved in that when they set that up?
No, I wasn't. But I do remember the day that Chaz was like, we get to talk to someone at Google today. We were finally spending enough money with AdWords where we get to speak to a human at Google. It's a big day, yeah. And we were like, wow. So yeah, they were buying keywords on something, and I'd get I was just following up on what came in, and moved a lot of product for sure.
So was it there that you got the entrepreneurial bug? Like, when did that?
Yeah, well, I mean, before that, like what I was doing with
the lawnmower business.
Yeah, with
you didn't bring their own equipment and their own gas.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, you like lazy or brilliant, you tell me. No,
maybe a little both.
No, I mean, it was when I kind of figured out that these people would trust me to come in their home and do a thing for them, and give me $50 or $100.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. And I did enough of that to like team up with some buddies that worked in the IT department, and I was like, hey, why don't we try to like do more of this? And we tried to do more of it, and it didn't really go anywhere. But it was like, oh wow, like smart guys can just form a entity and throw up a website, and suddenly you have a business. And then I guess that's what sparked it. And then the experience working at Bronto and just kind of seeing like, wow, these guys are smart, but they're not smarter than me. And they're just like trying.
Yeah.
And
they're just trying.
I mean, that really is like the hardest part, right? And sticking with it.
Yeah.
And and that's kind of led me down a lot of different things.
Biggest takeaway from your Bronto experience?
My biggest, that was
biggest learning, I guess, right?
You might say that was prehistoric. That was a long time ago. Honestly, as much as I learned working directly with Joe and Chaz, neither of whom I haven't seen those guys in forever, seeing Matt Williamson in action.
Yeah.
To see like a professional sales process and a professional like manager.
Yeah.
Not that there weren't others, but like he's one that I worked closely with and that I admired and kind of become friends with. Like him coming in just like a tornado in like the most positive way imaginable is something that made an impression on. I was probably like 25.
Yeah,
I was a child, but just
your brain wasn't fully developed yet.
No, I definitely did not have white facial hair then. But yeah, I guess seeing the like brute force it takes sometimes to just like make something happen, and that's something that I think about.
So then you went on to start Argyle Social as a founder or co-founder.
Yeah.
Which is, again, like you're starting a company, you're in charge of sales, right? Like when you started that as a co-founder, when you divvied up the responsibilities, was the sales end of it part of your responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, so my co-founder was a product guy.
Yeah.
And funny enough, he was the guy that took my old job at Bronto. And it was funny because I was a marketing kind of customer product manager, and he was a technical product manager. And that's actually a pretty good founding team.
What do you mean you took your job at Bronto?
When I left Bronto to go to business school.
I see.
And
that's interesting.
It's like different sides of the product manager coin, but it's a good founding team when people are like product centric and customer centric, but come at it from different ways. Yeah, I mean that too. Like that was forever ago, but I definitely remember just like beating my network to death to demo the thing to anybody that would listen, and our pitch deck probably had 10 or 12 logos on it, none of whom had paid us a dime, but all of whom would be like, oh no, yeah, like we believe in this, and like we believe in Eric, and like what they're doing is cool. And again, I mean, to the earlier point, just like an incredible amount of just energy and focus, and just ruthless effort.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about being the commonality I find in being an entrepreneur or a founder of a company in sales is that you're going to get a hell of a lot more no's and ghosting and all the bad stuff than you get the good stuff. But the great news is when you get that one yes or whatever, it's like brings you, sucks you right back.
Yeah,
in,
it's hard, man. It's like the goods can feel very, very, very good, and the bads feel like it's over and the world is ending. And those things can happen within 5 minutes of each other.
It's absolutely right.
And that's certainly the case in sales. It's amplified when you're an early stage founder, because like, well, this whole thing might fall apart. And it never goes away when you've got, a bunch of people on payroll that are paying their mortgage and
relying on you,
financing their 401k and daycare and whatever else. And it's based on, decisions you make, right or wrong. And so the goods feel good because you can help people live a good life, and you see the success that they have. But the bads can feel really, really bad.
I mean, I think that's what people have to realize as they start their sales careers. Like, it's every moment is different. Just embrace it.
And it's not a straight line either.
Not even close to a straight line. So, I don't even know this question, answer to this question. I know the question, actually. Why did you start RevBoss, by the way? Was there a certain vision you had, or the problem you saw in the market? Get into that a little bit.
So that's more recent history. I was consulting, like Argyle went down in flames, and I mean, we had a good business, and it didn't have to end the way that it did. It could have ended very differently, but it ended the way that it did. That's fine. It's a whole other podcast episode. But I didn't want to jump right into anything, and so I figured I would just go work for someone else. And I thought, well, I might just plug in as a fractional guy and get in there and solve some problems with a number of different companies, and I'll pick the one that I wanted to work for. And what happened was they just kept paying me to do the thing, and I just kept doing more things and found more clients, and eventually hired a guy named Danny Chu to come help me do it for more people. And
the thing was lead generation?
Initially, it was just like marketing, plumbing, and infrastructure. Like, install Pardot, make it work with Salesforce, and make it do all of this stuff, and make it. I mean, do people even use Pardot anymore? Like, I'm
sure somebody out there.
Yeah, if you even know what that is.
The same people use Marketo.
Which the Marketo UX looks the same as it did.
Same
Whatever. And so like make like build this like plumbing, and then make it create activity and do things. And that kind of led us down a path of, lead gen and outbound email and lots of other things. And now our focus is much broader, like sort of full funnel. Top of funnel email is very different from bottom funnel high intent email, and we're sort of spanning all of that now, and it all sits inside of the RevBoss platform, but it's founded on the same idea of the right person needs to get the right message at the right time. And the further up the funnel you go, you lose control of the timing element. But as you get a little lower down, certainly with like site visitor retargeting, those kinds of flows, you can be like, hey, Vince, saw that you were on the website yesterday. Let me know if you want to connect. And that stuff can work. And you've got very large, low converting audiences, but then you also have very small, high converting audiences. And the thing that I've learned about marketing is it's rarely, well, sometimes it can be one thing that works really well, but for most people, it's lots of things that work together, lots of things that work just okay. But in the aggregate, work. And that's kind of how we serve our clients today.
So when you started RevBoss, how has it changed and morphed over time? Because everyone has pivots or changes.
Yeah, I mean, we're
How many years has it been now?
10.
Wow.
And I mean, we're in the midst of it now. Like with the team, I've been very clear. Like this is the third time I've started RevBoss. I started it once with Danny Chu in my office upstairs,
Yep.
the way that I told you. I started it a second time around 2018 when it was very clear that like the SaaS thing is just not taking off. You're
Yep.
running out of money. And we pivoted to kind of a productized service that was 100% prospecting email.
Yep.
And we're starting it a third time, like now,
What does this look like?
what I just described.
Combination.
Yeah, we have like been all in on the tippy tip top of the funnel where it can work. It still works.
Yep.
It doesn't work like it worked 18 months ago, 3 years ago. Certainly like not when we started doing all of this stuff, but it still works. But investing all of our energy and all of our effort into the thing that's getting harder and harder and the prospects that are the hardest to convert, it just kind of stopped making sense. And the more we kind of thought and worked the problem, like, well, the same sort of strategy and execution applies at different stages of the buying process. We just need to get access to these different audiences. So we're connecting with our client CRMs to get existing prospects. We're embedding in their websites to get on-site sessions. And we're looking at connecting in their LinkedIn to get their LinkedIn audience, and all that just kind of, churns and stuff falls out.
I just here at Sales HQ, the only thing that's worked, I don't have a marketing budget. I am the marketing budget. So go back to the T-Rex thing, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, the thing that has worked is my audience lives and breathes on LinkedIn. So I continue to try to figure out different ways I can communicate on LinkedIn. And it's just a series of experiments, and it always surprises me. It's always the dumbest or most simple thing that always pays off the most. And I do the same mistake every single time. I overcomplicate it, I overwrite whatever it is, and it doesn't do anything. And then I do something short and simple, and guess what?
Yeah, well, earlier this year, I went through, I had a goal of doing 100 short videos on LinkedIn, and I think I've done maybe 30 or 35. It's hard. It's hard to do a lot of things when you're the CEO of the company. But the one that by far outperformed the most was talking about the smoking crater at Argyle Social.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And
you did that to generate interest for RevBoss.
Yeah, it was more just like I'm just going to talk about things that are interesting.
Yeah,
and
related or not related.
It was related in that I am me.
Yes,
and that's it.
Yes.
And the second highest performing one was when we almost went bankrupt in 2018. We pivoted the business and we're crashing into the ground.
People love that
and,
personal.
Pulled up just at the last minute, and the bottom of the plane scraped the tip of the trees, and we kind of made it. And did someone see that and fill out a lead form on RevBoss.com? No.
Yeah.
But my LinkedIn audience grows by 1% every week, like clockwork.
And you're using video exclusively, or you?
No, I haven't. So I've got some people on my team that write for me, doing a lot more just content that our marketing team generates. But Danny, the same Danny that was the first person that I hired at RevBoss, came back to work with us. He runs
physically here, or just
he lives in Dallas, Texas, in the Dallas metro. But he came back to work for us, and it was really funny because he worked with us forever.
Is this the third iteration now? Or?
Yeah, and so he is a master at this process. And so I accepted a calendar invite with him today to kind of get back on that horse of doing more of the short form video content. And the strategy now is talking more about starting RevBoss for the third time and trying to find more other personal stories, because that's what gets people.
People love it. I used to think back in the day, not that long ago, all of a sudden people started posting really personal stuff on LinkedIn. And you're like, what the heck is this? And then boom, blow up. Hundreds, thousands of views and likes, and it's audience growing.
It's really, I don't know. Sometimes it feels like it comes very natural. For me, and other times I feel like a phony. Yeah. Because it does feel fake. And there's this product called RB2B. It's one of the tools we're plugging in a few of these tools that does the site visitor retargeting. And the founder of the business, I did a webcast with him.
RB2B. B.
Yeah, his name's Adam Robinson. He's a sharp guy.
Oh, yeah,
He's been
yeah.
successful.
Yep.
And I mean, this guy is relentless. And he is, I don't want to say shameless, but he was like, look, I see my goal is to become the Kim Kardashian of B2B. And, you
He's
know,
good at it.
I kind of thought for a minute and I was like, I don't like her. And, you know, no disrespect.
I don't think she's watching.
The people that watch that,
yeah,
I don't understand why any person would watch that. And so why would you want to be that? And like, I get it. Like, that's very natural.
From a popularity standpoint.
Yeah, that's, you know, he can do that. I don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
You couldn't do that.
Yeah, like I just don't have that.
Yeah,
And,
I hear what you're saying.
So yeah, to your point about content and personal stories and whatever, I don't know what the balance is.
So you use LinkedIn platform. Eric Boggs uses LinkedIn platform. Eric and RevBoss is one thing. It's just the same thing. You are RevBoss. RevBoss.
Yeah,
is you.
I mean,
so,
it's like the founder brand, right?
Right.
And it's, if the founder can build a big enough audience
Right.
and have enough credibility, well, then it just creates a halo effect that does everything else. And so, and I mean, that kind of makes sense if you think about it. Like, nobody wants to know Sales HQ.
Yeah.
It's just a legal entity. People want to know Vince.
It's actually a living, breathing entity, Eric.
Well, you know,
I think you're.
You know, but it is the people. It is the
no,
person.
and you see it repeated on LinkedIn. You know, you mentioned Adam, right? He's one founder, or is he a founder, or whatever he is? Like, he's using it the right way for his purpose, which is to build this ginormous audience. There's another guy, Justin Welsh. I don't know if that is the guy, the content creator. He's got like 600 and something thousand followers, which on a B2B platform is
that's massive.
That's huge.
Yeah,
most people, if you had 20, you're doing pretty well for yourself. At 600 and something, he's just absolutely crushing it.
It's just wild how so much of it is becoming like TikTokified and just like really weird. And, you know, I don't know. It's all like it's all infotainment, right? And the thing for me is like it always feels like it has an angle, and sometimes it just feels so contrived. It's like, I'm embarrassed for you that you made that.
You're not saying that about my post, are you, Eric?
No. And the thing is, like,
you can tell me.
The person for whom I'm embarrassed probably doesn't care.
No, they don't
because they're shameless, and it's like, I'll just do anything for the.
Yeah, because you looked at it and you might have.
I know.
You gave them more views.
That is the conundrum.
So in addition to, that's one of the platforms, obviously, you use for your own brand, for the RevBoss brand, but also for your clients. What are you finding from a marketing standpoint, what are the channels that are really working, and how are you taking advantage of them today? Because it seems like every 3 months or 6 months, the evolution of things is happening so much more rapidly these days.
So I think there are a few trends happening. One, the like easy money era is gone, which means the easy marketing era is gone. And that means higher scrutiny, skepticism, standard, whatever you want to call it, for buyers at any stage of the buying process.
Yeah.
Top, bottom, left to right, whatever your paradigm is. And so that means you can't just flood AdWords with ad spend or crank out a bunch of cold emails and just hope for the best. That said, what always works is the right message to the right person at the right time. And
regardless of platform.
Yeah. And right person, in my view, is a tightly defined, segmented, not in like 50 different ways, but in 2 or 3 ways, ICP. Like, you don't need an audience of 50,000. You need the right 5,000. And the best qualified, best defined 5,000, maybe you put in a couple buckets that lets you layer messaging that makes a lot of sense. Like a really good example is, you know, we love to work with companies that don't have marketing teams. And so, you know, hey, Vince, congrats on your 25-person PR team. I bet it's really hard running the business, being the number one salesperson, and being the marketer. Well, you know, why don't you let us do that, right? And so we know something about you that lets us say something about us that shows that we understand you. And so we look at segmentation through that lens. And so then it kind of becomes like, all right, if you're the right person and that's the message I want to get in front of you, well, I can say it up here at the top of the funnel as a cold email or a display ad. I can say it here if you're in my LinkedIn audience or in like a legacy lead or something like that. And I can say it down here if you happen to be on my website or showing some other intent. And so I think that what will work is a tighter audience and a tighter message and patience. And that's the thing that, we're going to find out, from
How
our
do
clients.
you, I assume you've done some experimentation with, I always struggle with the amount of words or content you need to feed. I always, like I said before, over explain like, oh, I need to say this and I need to say that and I need to say this. I get the call to action, right? It has to happen. But like, I think I always over express the value. So how do you, what's your magic sauce for making sure to the point to that audience you described?
It's hard, man.
Yeah.
It's hard. My magic.
Hey, ChatGPT.
Yeah, well, it's not that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
We've spent a lot of effort there, and man, ChatGPT for us has been very good at decision making.
Okay.
It's not good.
How so? Give me an example.
Here's a prospect, Vince. He has this title of this company. Here's a list of 30 reference clients. Pick the best one for Vince. Right.
Okay.
Based on
that makes a lot of sense.
A lot of things. Right. Here's Vince. Should he get this email, that email, or that email? Versus here's Vince, write a cold email to Vince. Like, terrible.
Yep.
No matter how you feed it and how you train it.
Yep.
And believe me, we have spent a lot of time.
It doesn't feel authentic, right?
Yeah. You can just see it.
Yeah.
You can just see it.
Yep.
And so where we've actually found value is our team of copywriters who are very good, keep it very tight and very short, and we will use AI for some clients, not even all clients, to decide the best phrase or decide the best reference client or 7-word case study based on you.
Yep.
The other way that we use AI is, to my earlier point about like that audience of 5,000 or 10,000, however you are, like making sure that that list that you dump from Apollo or ZoomInfo or wherever, that those are real things, because they're not. And 30% of anything that you download from Apollo and all these tools is like absolute garbage.
Yeah.
And
feels it's getting worse.
It is getting worse.
Okay.
And I think it's because all of these providers, they'll even tell you this, they all they all buy and sell from each other. And it's all this like weird incestuous relationship. And I think there's like some data crew down in like South America or something that's like real time scraping LinkedIn and everybody buys it from them.
Yeah.
It just gets passed around because data quality has diminished, and it's a lot of evidence for it. But it's been bad all along.
Yeah.
We've just been too lazy and haven't had the tools to validate it.
So what's been interesting here is that from like January-ish time frame, when I really solidified like I'm going to start this thing and open the doors soon, I started building my list, not like purposely, just started doing things in activity that sort of, I've grown it now in 6 months to 3,000 subscribers, not just names, 3,000 subscribers. And I was like, wow, this is where I'm really starting to build some real value here, because these are subscribers to this asset that I'm sending them valuable content that continue to want it. I'm like, geez, I'm actually creating a platform here.
And it took you a long time.
Yeah,
right?
6 months to get to 3,000, which for B2B, and
that's actually really fast.
In one market, right?
Yeah.
So if I had 50 markets I was in, different story. But I was really encouraged by that, because, okay, I'm doing the hard work right now, which is attracting an audience that is interested in this thing called Sales HQ, whether it's physically being here or just absorbing some of the content, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is where I need to focus my effort.
Yeah.
It's not mass. It's like, to your point, narrow. What is my ICP? What do they care about? And then slowly keep building.
Yeah, and then you've got that 3,000, and locally your cap is, I don't know, 15 or 10 or 20.
Whatever.
Like, I don't know what it is, but it's like, you know what you have, and you know what you need to go get, and everything outside of that is just noise. It doesn't matter. And even outside of that 10,000, let's say, that you don't have, there's like a most valuable 2,000.
Yes.
and you probably would be best served to like zero in on that.
And it's amazing when you curate your audience and then you're communicating with them what they're interested in, and that, they're going to tell you what you need to write about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So honestly, as time came on, I was like, how can I do a weekly newsletter? This is daunting. Like, how do I come up with my next? That's easy now because I know what they care about.
Yeah, we just like go talk to those guys back there doing a sales call. Like, hey, how's it going? What'd you do this week?
It's absolutely it's
Yeah.
that, and it's just what people are actually clicking on.
Yeah.
Like, okay, they're not clicking on that. They're clicking on. You know what the number one clicker of things are on my YouTube channel? Someone ringing the sales bell over there. An 8-second ring of a bell crushes my YouTube channel.
That's great.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Because some people are like, well, why is that guy standing up and going to, or gal going to that thing and ringing it? That's called a sales win. Like, there's some people that don't even know what that is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a generation. So,
Yeah.
and people like seeing other people succeed too, is what
Yeah.
I identified as well.
Yeah.
So.
I guess it's to my earlier comment. It's like Sales HQ as the brand versus Vince
Yes.
as the brand.
Yes.
Like that's the difference. Is
Yes.
that it's why I do content as me, not
Yeah.
content as RevBoss.
Yeah.
And, it's why you do content as you. And it's
I know, because if you try to do it as your brand on LinkedIn, it's
well, like we post something as RevBoss, crickets. We
Yes.
post literally the exact
Yeah.
same thing as me. Well, plenty of engagement.
and they even say if you even like push your brand in your post, it actually drives down engagement. I'm like, anyway, it's all a game you have to play.
Yeah, I know. It's weird, and it's weird to find that balance between who you are and Kim Kardashian.
Yeah. It's not hard for me. What is the top thing your current customers want, need, or challenged by? Like, what's going on with your customers that you're hearing consistently?
So our clients want leads and
Yeah.
activity, and it's hard for us because it's never enough.
And is activity mostly a meeting schedule?
Yeah, generally.
Yeah.
Generally. And yeah, that's what they want. And our clients range from, they're small. So our average client's probably 25, 30 employees. Some of them are 2 employees.
Yeah.
Some of them are quite a bit bigger, right?
Yep.
And you can imagine we have a handful of like higher education clients, like these like executive education at UNC Chapel Hill, UNC Charlotte, Arizona State. Those are big organizations, and they can budget and take a long view and partner with us in the work that we do. But then we have other clients that are, Eric and Vince's, sales consulting shop, and we might be desperate and dying. And that's fine. We can still serve those types of clients, but it's a really different.
Yeah.
It's a different problem and a different dynamic when it's like, okay, we budgeted for 12 months of RevBoss. Let's make this work, versus like, if I don't get something in 30 days, my business is going to go under.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of that.
Yeah.
And, we can make it work.
Yeah.
And we do make it work a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't. And that's
So
hard.
your world is the same as the SaaS sales world. It's top of the funnel is diminished, mid funnel's diminished, everything's diminishing.
Yeah. It's definitely harder than it was, certainly in 2021.
I find that if we're going to get channel specific, I just find that email's gotten so much harder, like ridiculously much harder. It used to be like, okay, I can take a series and I'll be very specific and very, very, very personalized and all that. It's like, nope, not so much.
Yeah.
So I've got one last question for you.
Yes.
It's going to be a hard one. So you better be ready. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. And you better think about this, because it better not be a simple answer. It better be more complex. What's the one thing about Eric Boggs that most people don't know that's interesting? Most people.
That most people don't know. All right, here's a very timely one.
All right.
I bought a ticket to a concert today. To
Really
go
timely.
see a band called Sumac in Asheville, and I'm going with some of my college roommates. And it is music that would make your toenails curl. I was listening to it on the way over here.
What is it? I never heard of it.
It's not death metal. I would call it like post-punk hardcore noise. It's hard to describe. But yeah, I listen to music that...
So it's loud, it's aggressive.
Yeah, I listen to music that would scare children. And I do it to concentrate.
That makes you concentrate.
Yeah, it's like a weird, you like find a zone and I can like work. Yeah, so I guess that's an interesting thing about me that most people don't know that I thought of on the spot because I was listening to it out there and I literally bought that.
I thought you were going to tell me it was like some soothing kind of jazz, laid back, lounge type music.
I mean, I like that too. But
yeah. No, are these the same guys you go hiking in the...
It is. It's the same roommates.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you guys go in the woods and play this type of music, scare the bears away and shit?
No, my friend Ben. So most of us live in North Carolina and Tennessee, and Ben lives in Texas, and he kind of turned us on to this band, and he loves this band. He's flying here in December to see them in Raleigh and then again in Asheville, and so we're all going to go converge and see this band in Asheville. And yeah, you put me on the spot, man. I'm doing the best I can.
No, I like that.
I could have come up with something more interesting.
Can I come up with something interesting about Eric Boggs that most people don't know? Well, they tore that building down that you used to work in.
Yeah.
You probably were in that building, but at the time you might have been there while they were actually taking.
Guys, hang on!
down.
I'm still like stripping things off the walls.
That was interesting.
So we were in a building in downtown Durham. It was cheap and ratty, like don't ride the elevator kind of building. And we leased it in there. This was probably 2017, 2018. I don't know. They're like, we're going to tear it down. I was like, okay, well, just,
let us know.
Make sure we're out of the building before the wrecking ball comes. And they're like, well, we're doing 6-month rolling lease. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to extend. We got the financing. This building's going to come down. We were there for like 3 years.
I know you were.
And then
no plumbing. No, just kidding.
No, it was fine. It was fine. Actually, a great view, like right by Bull McCabe's.
Perfect location.
Then pandemic hit. Like we moved out when the pandemic hit.
That's right.
And but yeah, they made a big deal out of it. But we just stayed there for a long time.
Squatters.
So it was a bank building.
Yep.
Do you know who showed up as the like guest celebrity appearance for the ribbon cutting?
For the ribbon cutting in downtown Durham.
You'll never guess it.
I'm actually going to guess it.
He was a member of the Beach Boys.
Brian Wilson?
A touring member of the Beach Boys, not Brian Wilson.
Touring member of the Beach Boys. Barry Gibb.
Glenn Campbell.
Glenn Campbell? For real?
Campbell.
Is he from North Carolina?
I don't know. I think he was like on... I talked to the building...
Why would he come to Durham, North Carolina?
I think he was like on tour in North Carolina, and they were opening the building.
I see.
And they're like, hey, Glenn Campbell, do you want to come cut the ribbon?
He's like a D-Pack, and they're like, hey, he's like walking, getting...
He wasn't a D-Pack. I don't know where he was, but D-Pack didn't exist.
Oh, it wasn't?
Not the new building. The original building in like the 60s.
Oh,
the building that was cut down.
I thought you meant the new building.
No. The new building. Glenn Campbell died a few years ago.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I unironically love Glenn Campbell.
Yeah.
But no, like when it opened...
Like a Rhinestone Cowboy?
Yes.
Am I right?
The Wichita lineman.
I'm back.
Southern Knights.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
All right, I'm back.
But yeah, Glenn Campbell.
That's an interesting
it like blew me away. I was like, this is so great. I've been a place that
Well, I think we're going to end there because I don't know what we're talking about. It's got nothing to do with sales but
when you hit Wichita lineman, that's usually the wrap it up.
Eric, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man.
It's good catching up.
My pleasure, my friend.
Till next time, Sales HQ.